start with talking about what God is for? Okay.
Yeah.
You can start.
Okay.
Unless you're going to say what I'm going to say.
Well, I'll let you go first.
All right. God's not asking us to be safe, but I do feel like He is expecting us to know that He's already got it figured out. So to stop worrying.
God was very clear, and He said, I want you to take that step out and walk on the edge with me. I was scared. I didn't know how it was going to work out. I'm not calling you to be safe right now. I'm calling you to be obedient.
Being that I'm more of a detail kind of person, I needed to know the logistics of how this was going to pan out. And I just basically just said, it doesn't matter. I know where I'm going, and I know that we're going to get there. I don't care how.
I'm David Millward.
I'm Craig Millward.
And we live here in Stevens City. We have 2 kids, Gideon, who's 4 and a half, and Vivian, who is just turned 1. We've been married for almost 9 years. We got married twice, so it's confusing sometimes.
I came home from my deployment 6 months earlier, and we actually were already in the process of planning a June wedding. And so we just said, let's elope. And we did.
Yeah. So when we met, I was living in Richmond and you were stationed at Fort Bragg.
Mm-hmm.
And you were getting ready to get out. So we met in November. You were supposed to get out of the Army in March. And so I agreed to date you long distance because you're getting ready to get out of the Army and move to Virginia, and I was not going to be an Army wife. So be careful what you say you're never going to do.
I was hand-selected by my battalion commander to actually represent the unit in Afghanistan. He knew that I was getting out, but he needed 4 crews out of the 6 of us that were there, and he basically asked me if I would go, more or less telling me I didn't have a choice.
It was crazy because you weren't even allowed to say when you were going that you were going to Afghanistan, and then you didn't have regular communication. They confiscated your camera. And it was really stressful for both of us. And I remember one time we were on the phone and there was a air raid. Siren went off and we were right in the middle of a conversation, and I'm like, what is click? And the line went dead, and then you weren't able to call for a week. And that happened more than once. You were in country in Afghanistan on the day you were supposed to get out.
The exact day.
The exact day. And you were gone for 6 months?
Just over.
Yeah, just over 6 months. And while you were gone, I was planning a wedding. But when you are the fiance of a soldier, you are not recognized by the United States Army. So when you came home after 6 months, that is why we eloped, because you were still stop lost and we thought you were going back.
That's true.
So 2 more months that we were apart, and then we were finally together, and then we had a bonus wedding.
Yeah,
with the
big party.
dress and the flowers.
The expensive party.
Yes, so. I'm a teacher in Warren County. I teach special education.
And I'm a general manager for H.H. Craig in Manassas, Virginia.
And I've always wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. And it just hasn't been the right time, and we haven't really been able to figure it out financially. And it changed a little bit for us this year. I really felt like God was not just telling me that it was okay to be a stay-at-home mom, but that He was calling me to do that. The more I would pray about it, the clearer God was, and He was just like, this is what I'm telling you to do. It didn't make sense on paper. There was no way financially that we could afford to do that.
We knew that we needed to make a certain amount of money to offset her income, basically $1,600.
It was about $1,600. We had meetings, we had family meetings, and we'd stay up late at night. We had worksheets and we had numbers, and we were figuring it all out.
His timing was beyond amazing. Davis said, God's not done blessing us yet. We know that He's going to provide. He still has a lot more work to do. Rapid succession. I got a promotion through work. I got a postcard just saying that you have the following appointments on these 2 dates. I submitted the original claim about 6-7 months after I had gotten out.
They're really hard to get the claims and pensions appointments, and we've been requesting them for 8 years.
So my medical records were lost. Both before going to Afghanistan, they found them, and then lost them before I got out of the military. So I don't have any medical proof of anything that I've done or had to experience while actually being over there.
We'd been let down so many times, and we'd run through the loop so many times with the VA. So it was just kind of like, okay, great, we'll go through with the appointment, but
It was just nice to know that somebody is finally helping me push this ball up the hill. So going through all this, I'm just thinking like, okay, well again, we're moving the process along.
but they said they had paperwork.
Yeah, and
They had
that's
paperwork
when he
at that appointment that hasn't been there ever.
hasn't been there. It's
We've
been
at-
gone since the day I got out of the Army.
Yeah.
Actually, before I got out of the
Yeah.
Army.
And so that was a Monday, and he told you that he was going to submit it, but that it would probably take 6 to 12 months for you to get an answer. 2 days later, we were talking, we were having another family meeting. It was late, both of the kids were asleep. I think it was probably like 11 o'clock, and we're talking, and I was just like, I'm so tired, I have to go to bed. So I got up, and the last thing that he said to me was, I'm not worried about it, babe, everything's gonna be fine. I'm like, I know, I'm not worried about it either. And he laughed, and he says, yeah, I mean, you can make that money. I'm not worried about you. You're gonna bring that money home. And I turned around and looked at him, and I said, mark my words, I am not going to work. God is going to take care of our money, and I am not going to do anything but care for our children. And so I went to bed, and he stayed up for a little while, and about 30 minutes later, he comes running down the hallway and like busts through the bedroom door. He's holding the laptop, and he's shaking. I mean, you were shaking. You were shaking. And he turns the laptop around, and he shows me they had ruled on his claim. He was 70% service connected, and the amount of money that he's being awarded is $1,600, which was exactly what we needed.
When God asks us not necessarily to be safe, I feel that He's still telling us that He wants us to be humble and know that He has the result already planned out, and that we know that we can get there. We just kind of have to step out on faith, take those chances. As long as we know that what we're doing is for the betterment of His kingdom, it's all going to work out. So it's scary. There's a lot of fear involved in it, but just take the leap, go for it, and He's got you.
If he's calling you to do something, as humans, we want to logically see the progression of events, and that's not really the way that God works. God's not asking us to be safe, but He's asking us to be obedient and bold.